WHEXT, pandemia, lockdown, suspensione de filmagens, cortes de verbia. Sex não tem noção que milagre foi conceber um filme este ano, que vem a 2021. E nós sabemos WHEXT.
WHEXTers, bom dia! Você que achou que o WHEXT 2020 não ia rolar, estamos aqui, ano de pandemia, orçamento apertado, filmagem remota, mas a gente está aqui porque nós somos resistência. Antes de começar, eu quero agradecer muito a Quanta que está nos recebendo aqui, estamos falando direto da Quanta, a ClapMe, responsável por essa transmissão. Que desafio fazer uma transmissão para o mercado audiovisual, vocês que são profissionais de altíssima qualidade, então a gente teve todo o cuidado necessário para a gente estar aqui entregando na qualidade que vocês merecem. Antes de começar, eu quero agradecer os nossos patrocinadores e os nossos apoiadores, afinal de contas, sem eles a gente não estaria aqui hoje. Então, começando com o governo britânico e a OnCare, Segurança e Saúde no Trabalho, SP Film Commission, SP Cine, Secretaria da Cultura da Cidade de São Paulo, Estúdios Quanta, como eu já falei, Go Ed Media, Zebra Deluxe, Adstream, Bar Astor e Save Hub. Parceria Léo Burnet, ClapMe, Satélite Áudio e parceria internacional GNAD. Enfim, muito obrigada a todos vocês, sem vocês a gente não estaria aqui, como eu já falei. Agora, falando um pouquinho do nosso porquê estamos aqui, né? Tomamos todos os cuidados necessários para a gente estar aqui hoje. Todo mundo foi previamente testado, todo mundo passou por uma triagem aqui antes de entrar nesse estúdio. A equipe toda está usando o EPI necessário. Temos a nossa bedel do Covid aqui tomando conta e fazendo com que todo mundo use corretamente esse EPI. Então, pessoal, tomando todas as medidas e cuidados necessários para a gente estar aqui. Eu estou sem máscara, porque afinal de contas, no nosso protocolo, elenco não usa máscara e hoje aqui eu estou recepcionando vocês, então por isso que eu estou sem máscara, tá bom? Vamos lá, vamos começar o primeiro painel do dia, mas antes de chamar os palestrantes, eu vou chamar um vídeo do nosso parceiro, né, do Reino Unido, Anthony Preston, vice-diretor do Ministério de Comércio Internacional do Reino Unido do Brasil e vice-cônsul-geral do Consulado Britânico no Rio de Janeiro. Ele deixou um videozinho, ele não conseguiu estar aqui com a gente essa manhã, mas eu queria mostrar para vocês e novamente agradecer muito o governo britânico que tem nos apoiado desde o início do WHEXT. Por favor, pessoal.
Bom dia a todos e sejam bem-vindos. Meu nome é Tony Preston e eu sou o vice-diretor do Departamento para o Comércio Internacional do Reino Unido no Brasil e cônsul-geral adjunto do Consulado Britânico no Rio de Janeiro. É um prazer estar aqui hoje para o WHEXT 2020. Primeiramente, eu gostaria de agradecer aos organizadores da WHEXT por todo o empenho em realizar, mesmo que de forma virtual, um dos eventos mais importantes da indústria publicitária. É uma oportunidade única de falar e refletir sobre o mercado brasileiro e mundial da publicidade e propaganda. Um agradecimento especial também aos representantes britânicos do evento, a Advertising Producers Association, APA, AdGreen e a Adam&EveDDB. Quando falamos de inovação, é impossível não falar do Reino Unido, que além de ser um dos mercados mais prestigiados em termos de diversidade e produção de conteúdo, e é também um hub de influências e perspectivas enriquecedoras. Em termos econômicos, de acordo com dados oficiais do governo britânico divulgados em fevereiro deste ano. Os setores de publicidade e propaganda geram valor acrescentado bruto de 18,6 bilhões libras britânicas ao PIB do Reino Unido anualmente. Nós, representantes do governo do Reino Unido aqui no Brasil, estamos focados em encontrar novas oportunidades para a indústria publicitária britânica ao redor do mundo e estamos aqui hoje porque acreditamos que o Brasil é um país que merece uma atenção especial. O Brasil é um mercado líder na América Latina e um dos maiores do mundo. O investimento publicitário no Brasil, por exemplo, chegou a 12,5 bilhões de dólares em 2019, o que comprova a magnitude e potencial da indústria. Ainda, de acordo com a Associação Brasileira de Publicidade, estima-se que no Brasil cada R$1 aplicado em publicidade gera, em mídia, R$10 para o conjunto da economia. Mais uma vez, esse dado traduz a relevância e expressividade da indústria no país e demonstra a fertilidade do mercado. Por isso, reforço a importância da presença de todos aqui hoje, fomentada diálogo, interação e aprendizado entre todos os envolvidos e agradeço não só aos palestrantes, mas também aos participantes que compartilharão suas experiências e conhecimentos. Estou certo de que será um evento muito rico, onde aprenderemos bastante sobre o que há de mais novo na produção publicitária. Enfim, muito obrigado mais uma vez por terem vindo e desejo a todos um excelente evento. Muito obrigado.
Perfeito. Esses 3 painéis da manhã que vocês vão assistir hoje aqui com a gente foram construídos em parceria com o governo britânico. Então, novamente, quero agradecer essa parceria super importante e necessária para ajudar aí a qualificar o nosso mercado. Então, sem mais delongas, vamos embora chamar o primeiro painel, Produzindo 100% remotamente. Esse é um painel que eu tenho muito carinho, porque é sobre um filme que certamente muitos de vocês viram aí, que foi um dos grandes hits aí feitos, produzidos durante a pandemia. Então, eu tenho um prazer enorme, porque essas 3 pessoas que estão nesse painel são amigos queridos, que eu tenho maior admiração e carinho. Então, vamos lá, vou falar inglês agora, porque 2 dos nossos convidados são gringos. Ok? Hello, pessoal. Hello, guys. Good morning. So glad to have you guys here. So I would like to introduce you all. Paulo Garcia, director and partner at Zombie. Stephen Mead, from integrated producer at Adam&Eve. Hi, Stephen.
Hi.
Bart Yates, executive producer and partner at Blink Inc. Hi, Bart.
Hi.
Sorry, guys, we don't have pão de queijo here today, but next time.
That's okay. I've got some ready in the freezer for tomorrow.
Ah, perfect. So go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so hey guys, as Mariana, first of all, thank you so much for this panel. It's always a pleasure to be here speaking about this amazing project, and alongside these 2 fellas here that made it possible, Stephen and Bart. Scared Cat was not an easy project to build because we were facing a pandemic when we received these requests for this short film. So 4 minutes of animation in the middle of a pandemic, it's quite a quest. And I think we nailed it. And that's why we are here. And Stephen is here with us. And I want to talk a little bit about the process. And I think with this pandemic situation happening, producing Brazil, it's more. I think the clients are more open to produce abroad, and I think Stephen can say to us a little bit about how it came to us, this project, how it came to us, these requests, and Bart that represents us, and it's our main hoster there in London, can say a little bit about the process because he's a production company, a sister production company that we have in there, and he managed all the communication in between Brazil and London, and I think he can give us his perspective about this process too. Mm-hmm. Okay, Stephen, please introduce yourself, man.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. So glad to be back at WHEXT. I was here 2 years ago. I was in person with you guys then, but really, really happy to be talking to you again now, especially having delivered a production with a Brazilian production company, which is great, and it's partly off the back of coming 2 years ago that gave me the open-mindedness to work with a Brazilian production company, and I was really impressed by the offering last time I came over. So this is definitely something that's born out of that. Really, this project was the perfect storm from coronavirus. It forced the project to happen in the way that it happened, which was really fortunate. The script was originally a live action brief, and I was right in the middle of scoping it and talking to production partners when the COVID crisis hit in the UK, and it looked like we weren't going to be filming for at least a few months, and Halloween is a hard deadline, and there's no putting it off to wait and see what happens. So fortunately, it forced everyone to change their mindset and look at an animation route, which I think was massively fortunate as well, because I don't think we'd have had the performance from a live action cat in any way like we were able to get through animation. And the coronavirus pandemic also brought about the open-mindedness in my colleagues for remote working, because we already started working remotely and everyone was getting comfortable with working from home, even within the UK. It certainly brought people around to the idea that, well, if we can all work perfectly well, not in the same room together, surely we can all work perfectly well, not in the same continent. And that really sort of laid the path for us to be able to work on this project with a fantastic Brazilian production partner.
Thank you, man. Bart.
Hello, everybody. I was there 2 years ago as well, and which is quite funny. I just thought of that the other day, Stephen, that we've ended up doing this job all together, which is just pure circumstance after not really connected with being there, but then we've ended up doing this job together, which has been very nice. For me, this was an interesting project in that I guess sorry.
Sorry. Okay, you can go, Bart.
Mariana, I think. Okay, I'll go. This project was probably the first, I would say, proper new project that we mounted during lockdown. For us, like a lot of animation production companies, I'm sure the same with Zombie. Whereas when the coronavirus lockdown came into effect in March, whereas most live action production companies just cancelled all their shoots, everybody went home to wait until things came back to normal. All the animation companies like us, we all had jobs in production, and we just had to send everybody home and rewire our entire organizations to have people doing their jobs, right, instead of being in our studio working from their kitchen tables. So the first couple of months, March, April, we were just very intensely figuring out how to deliver the projects that we already had. in these new remote working conditions, which was challenging, but we obviously learned a lot. Then there wasn't a lot of new, interesting, creative opportunities that came along in those months. There was a lot of commercials made of people talking on Zoom, or edits made from stock footage, or those kind of things. But then I think around the time that this commercial happened, when we first started talking about it with the agency, was the first time that people had been doing some projects remotely, and there was a confidence to go for an ambitious project like this. And so it was the first time really where we had to get all those connections going of a new team, new understanding of working together, and finding that collaborative process, which normally you'd build a rapport early on in the project and then do it. But we're having to build all of that rapport and get to know each other, figure everything out 100% remotely, which was interesting, yeah. And again, we learned a lot on that project, and we're still continuing to learn on every project that we're doing under these remote working conditions now. I do also remember at the start of the project, when we were talking about it, Stephen, was there was an economic factor as well, of it being the idea being to make a short film, but the budget was for a short commercial. And then so we were going, how do we make 3 minutes of animation with the budget to make 30 seconds of animation, and but still delivering very high production values and a very high level of artistry, and then so I guess with the exchange rate between Brazil at the time, it gave us all a real advantage in that sense, of being able to deliver a huge amount of value for the budget that was on offer.
Yeah, for sure. This question about budgets it's always very important about producing here in Brazil, because I think we can keep the same quality in storytelling, same quality in craft. Storytelling, I think, is the most important thing, because that's something that you see the other production companies around, even Blink, they nail this. Sometimes we are so obsessed about the craft that we forget about the history, the way about telling the history. And for sure, when they have short budgets for them, budgets that you can only do 30 seconds in London, and you bring this to Brazil, the exchange rate helps a lot. But it's nice because we are proving, I think, right now that we can do this here with quality. It's not only because of the money, it's not only because of the exchange, but it's because of the quality that we can bring for the project. Even because when we are pitching sometimes against production companies from outside. And what we see is that the client's more open to see here from Brazil our perspective. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, because we have our way about telling stories. We had a pitch this year, and I remember that we lost, right, Bart, because the guy felt that the grandfather in the film was too happy, and then because it's a cultural thing, it's like this is something that we are always trying to adjust in our main pipeline. About pitching with production companies outside Brazil. But for this project here was quite an amazing process, because having Blink out with us in there, it's always that feeling of, I think for Stephen and for Adam&Eve, it's always like I have someone here who speaks in the way I speak, who knows the process, who knows us better. And so having a sister company outside and then produce in Brazil, it's easier when you have a partner like that. I think I think Stephen can tell us this, but for sure, this was a very important aspect to give us the project, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we always prefer, as an agency, to work with known partners based in London. So being able to team up with Blink and Zombie was a huge sell for the team. The creative directors were massively reassured by the fact that we had Blink working on this with us, a trusted partner who we've made lots of work with before. It definitely makes the whole thing work better, and it sells the whole project for people. being able to go to our clients in the US and say, we're doing this with a Brazilian production company who we haven't worked with before, but we're doing it with Bart and Blink, and we've done all of these things with them in the past. It just sells it completely, and the clients were 100% on board with it when we put it to them like that.
Yeah, I'm saying that because it would be the same if you try to work with Blink or with another production company here in Brazil. For sure, it's easier for the producers inside the agents and the clients to decide to go further in a production when you have someone in the place. Even we are living a remotely process, but working remotely, but in a way, you always need someone around. I think someone from the same location. But wow.
I think we had a very we had a super nicely integrated team as well, because we obviously had one of the creatives on the project at the agency was a Brazilian who you guys had a relationship with already, and then from a production point of view, we had both producers working on the kind of front line of the job. Marcio, the zombie producer in working in Brazil, and then Gareth, my producer in London. And those guys were working kind of shoulder to shoulder rather than keeping one sort of behind the other, and I think that seemed to work quite well. Just in terms of, keeping that sort of flow of communication between agency and production throughout the project. But I'd be interested to get
That's a great point, Bart, actually. I think that's a great point. Like it was a group discussion rather than like a weird chain of command or chain of communication. It's great that at all times virtually, Marcio, Gareth, and I were sat around the table talking to each other in real time, rather than messages being passed. I think it was
taking decisions based on conversations, right? Yeah, I think this is the. Yeah. And this is something that I felt during the pandemic. Now that we were working a lot remotely, that I see the clients, even the agents, the creatives, and even the clients, they are more open to discuss the process and to jump in the process and understand what you are doing. I don't know if because you are remotely, you have more timing for this, or because we are more afraid about producing remotely, so we are always in the process trying to know what is happening. So, but in a way, I think this is a good thing to do, for all the productions that we are doing here. I'm asking for the clients, hey, let's talk as much as we can, Let's try to be connected during the whole process and have this, how can I say, transparency during the process, You can see what's happening now.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, actually, because I think, when things are just running normally, the tendency can, on a lot of commercial work, can be, things just come down from the client. It's like, just do this, just do that, put it on the left, make that happen. Whereas because the clients were so nervous about spending their money under the circumstances, whether they were going to lose their money because the shoot was going to cancel or the job wasn't going to be possible, they were much more involved in a discussion about how are we going to do this, wanting to be reassured, wanting to understand the process a bit more rather than just giving directives down and expecting those things to be done. So I think it did open up a lot more kind of conversation and kind of openness, and that's resulted in a better, more collaborative, creative environment on those projects.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
and I remember
Temptation's a great example of like you guys especially did on that was incredible in terms of how to push that resource into such a rich, crafted, incredible film. It was quite amazing, really.
Yeah, we had our challenge, but I think having the crew not around is not easy. That part because you're always producing in there. And when you go for the CGI aspect of the film, because this film was wrote to be a live action film, so the client had this realistic cat inside the place, inside the whole animation. We were aiming for a stop frame film. That's why we built the set designs and everything. And I really was trying to add a puppet in there for the cat. But I agree with Stephen that perhaps we won't have the same acting that we have with the CGI cat. That's why we decided to make this mix. And every time you go for CGI remotely, it's not easy because you have these files that you have to send all around, and they are bigger files and everything. But all the aspect about building the set designs, I think, were more not only beautiful, because build something, you see all the art behind this, it's beautiful, but it's also was easier for us than build the whole scenario in CGI, and when you mix both and you see that we can do it, I think it's a nice formula for me here. We are trying to apply this for more projects during the pandemic, because I can use different teams. So having someone building the set designs, they start this not in the same place, and then we regroup and film everything in the same for 5 days, 6 days, like in the case of this one. And then we can apply the CGI, the characters. We can bring them into the animation, and we can discuss this with the client to have a more flexible deadlines for the CGI animation with them, because it's almost impossible to. I can bring the clients here to see the shooting, so the whole animation done in puppetry. So the CGI, I think, was a nice aspect, because I could send them play blasts and half animations and discuss the acting, discuss how the cat is looking on that scene. We had a lot of questions from the client, like, "Oh, the cat can't bite the ball because it's not allowed. The cat can." I remember, Stephen, how many? I think those were our biggest problems, right? Because not a single problem about the film, only because the acting of the cat. He can't do that. He can't do that.
That's totally true. Yeah.
And
I'd be interested to know from both of you guys. Am I allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
Have you, for both of you, you've been doing more international work, more remote? Has your opportunities to do more kind of international based projects opened up more during this, because of coronavirus and lockdown and the remote working?
Yes, for me, yes, I can say, because as Stephen told us in the beginning of this conversation, I think clients are more open to work remotely. We made that Viagra one, and it was funny because the client who was given the final word on every single process, on the project, he was in Scotland, and his other partner was in London, and so we are all remotely. So it's almost like, I think they are more open to. They saw that they can do this like all around. So for me, yes, we have a lot of other projects. This was an amazing year. We had more projects. We always had more projects from outside Brazil, but this year was a special one, for sure. And you, Stephen?
Same for us, I think. We've definitely seen a big increase in opportunities coming from outside of the UK. And then, Stephen, what about for Adam and Eve overall? Is there a lot more projects that have been happening, like we did with Temptations?
I don't know if they've happened, but I know that the appetite for engaging with overseas companies has definitely increased, and we're putting more companies forward and more solutions forward that involve smarter ways of working. Like on the live action side of things, we've done shoots in Eastern Europe with the directors in New York, and normally US directors often means a huge budget, because they'll want to shoot in the US or they'll want to fly around, and we found solutions to shoot with US directors shooting remotely in Eastern Europe, and there's definitely been more animation and post work, looking at using post houses as well overseas, to deliver jobs, because I think the only barrier now is time zone, because we're all remote. Everybody's got their head around the remoteness. The only slight barrier that remains is time zones, and as long as we're within 4 hours of each other, I think everyone's pretty relaxed about it now.
Yeah. We have a making of from Scare Cats. Perhaps you can play here, guys, and show to everyone all the hard work behind this amazing project. Can you play that, please, guys? Yeah, there's a lot of work in there.
Amazing amount of work.
Yeah. Guys, we have to finish this amazing call here, and I just want to thank you, everyone. And for our final conclusion is, I want your, well, I think that we saw that it's possible to produce here in, for production companies here in Brazil to work abroad, to work and other in productions with agencies like Adam&EveDDB, the best agency in the world, and having this contact with those guys during this process of the pandemic, and we saw that it's possible. We saw that you can do this. And Bart is here to assure us that, yes, we can. And I think that is we had an amazing. We can finish this here with your last words from Stephen and from Bart, please.
I just want to say I haven't seen the behind the scenes film before, and I knew it was a lot of work, but I was watching that and it's.
Yeah, man.
The bit that amazed me was when you have all the numbers drawn off the set designs, because
the number of props
piece has to be accounted for. It's just amazing how much work went into it. We have such happy clients, and we're so happy as an agency, and we're so glad that we did this with you guys and with Blink. We're just really grateful that we've all worked together and made something so fantastic. It's a real positive to come out of what's been a very difficult year.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really nice talking today, and from my point of view, I think what's so exciting about the times that we're in, and these a lot of these kind of changes of how we work together has been happening anyway, but it's been accelerated by coronavirus, and it's super interesting on a kind of practical level, being able to work and make things between different countries like this, but just on a creative level, it's so you just end up with such interesting different combinations of taste and sensibility and storytelling that it just wouldn't feel different and special in that way if you're just working with somebody next door that you work with all the time. By working in these different ways, you sort of force random combinations, and things just turn out very differently from the other things you've done before. So I love it. I'm very excited about these new ways of working, and long may it continue after the world gets back to normal.
Guys, now I'm speaking Portuguese to say our final words here.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Bart. Thank you so much, Stephen. Queria agradecer a todo mundo aí que assistiu esse painel maravilhoso. É um projeto do coração aqui do estúdio, e como vocês todos viram, é um projeto que realmente abriu aí a cabeça de todo mundo, mesmo durante uma pandemia, sobre essa possibilidade de se produzir no Brasil. Eu acho que o Brasil não deve em nada em relação a craft, história e tudo. A gente tem muito para mostrar para o mundo, e eu acho que a gente tem que aproveitar essa oportunidade agora da pandemia como uma forma de encontrar essa maneira de produzir mais lá fora, né? Como o próprio Stephen disse aqui, a gente está muito aberto a isso, né? Os próprios clientes estão com essa cabeça mais aberta para esse tipo de produção, produzindo em vários outros lugares do mundo. E eu acho que é isso, gente. Super obrigado. Vou encerrar aqui, dar tchau para as pessoas, e um grande abraço. Parabéns, WHEXT, parabéns, Mari, parabéns todo mundo aí por esse incrível festival, tá bom? Hey guys, bye bye. I will close right now.
Okay, thanks a lot. See you later.
Bye. Bye-bye.